Russian war crimes. But something I can show you is the Russian torture chamber I visited in Trostyanets in the north of Ukraine. It was in a train station that was used by the Russians during the occupation of the area to torture and interrogate innocent civilians. And only when the Ukrainians had forced the Russians to flee from the area did they discover the true extent of what had taken place there. The Russian invaders had rounded up men from the area, young and old, dragged them to the train station, taken them downstairs into the bathing and toilet area, and used that area as a torture chamber, with survivors now telling stories of being tied up, severely beaten, deprived of food and water, stabbed, mocked and stomped on. One man's account alone tells of how he was blindfolded but could hear the man beside him slowly dying, unable to breathe, after being horrifically tortured by Russian interrogators.
Here on the ground floor is where the soldiers slept, Russian soldiers, when they occupied this region. And this was just a passenger waiting room. Upstairs was more comfortable, so that's where the officers slept. And down here is where the Russians came. They ate, they drank, and when they left, they'd even gone to the toilet on the floor. It was completely destroyed. They're clearing it up now. But beneath my feet now is where the Russians took local villagers, local men, and tortured them for information that they couldn't give. They wanted to know where the Ukrainian soldiers and their units were, but these men didn't know. So the more that they said they didn't know, the more they were tortured. Here in this chamber underneath the train station in Trostyanets, the local men were brought down by the Russian soldiers after the surrounding area had been heavily shelled, and they were tortured. I'll go through some of the accounts later on today, but they're horrific. So the men were brought down here, had their nails pulled out, were beaten horrifically. Some had limbs cut off and were tortured, and the blood is still on the walls. So this is right in Trostyanets. There were no military, there's no army here. When they were targeting civilians. When the Russians came in, they specifically targeted civilian men and wanted to get information from them, wanted to ask questions, wanted to force them into claiming that they were Nazis, etc. And here is the remnants of what was left. One man died down here. Others survived, but they were left mutilated, some with obviously psychological problems. And as you can see, I think enough words, there aren't any words for this place. All you need to do is look at the wall.